LJR770 and two other people wanted to know, can Aaron explain blend if, please? This layer versus underlying layer.
Yes, I'm happy to do so. Let's go ahead and go back to our first image to talk about blend if. Now, blend if is incredibly helpful. It does take a little bit of time to kind of like get to figure out how to actually use blend if. So we'll just do a very abstract example that should help out. All right. So we've got, on this layer, I'm going to just create a, we're going to create, there we go, a couple different colored shapes here. All right, this one will be white, and this one will be black. And I'm keeping this all on the same layer here. Okay, so we've got red, white, and black. So by default, let's say I wanted these to be visible only where my background was visible, or only where my subject was visible. By default, we all think, okay, I got to make a layer mask, or I got to erase that away. And oftentimes that is the right answer. But a lot of the time, you can use what's called blend if to change the visibility of your layer. Now, blend if is based on the layer underneath your current layer, whether it's light or dark. So I know, just looking at this, that if I wanted a layer that was visible just in the lighter area of our subject, I can do that with blend if. If I want it to be just visible in the darker area of our subject, I can do that with blend if as well. So just think of light versus dark. So let's go ahead and go into our layer blending mode. You can, or our layer style. There we go. You can get to it by double clicking right here, or you can go to FX and then down to blending options. Okay, so we have a few different options within blend if, and blend if is right here. You'll want to click on blending options right at the top, and then blend if is going to be this these set of sliders. Now you do have options for your different channels. You can go to red, blue, or green channels, and in my experience, it doesn't actually make a ton of a difference between your gray channel. It seems like they're very, very similar. So I usually stick to gray. But if you feel like you need an extra bit of refinement, if you have a lot of red in the underlying layer, you can nail it down to a specific color. But I find that gray works pretty much just as well most of the time. Okay, so let's show, we have two different sliders. We have a slider for this layer and a slider for our underlying layer. So this layer is layer 5. I've got it highlighted, and the underlying layer is basically everything underneath it, the rest of my image. So if I don't hold down Alt or Option, if I just grab one of these sliders and start dragging this from the left, you're going to see things start to disappear. Down here in the darks, up here are the lights. And you have to think about whatever color you see here, or whatever light or dark, that's what's going to go first. So taking this from left to the right, instantly my black disappears. Because it's basically saying anything left of here, you don't want to be visible. If I keep going, my red's going to wind up disappearing. There we go. My red disappeared right about there, because it was basically this level of darkness. It happened to be red, but it was this level of darkness. And if I keep going all the way, well, it's white, so it won't wind up disappearing. But if I did want the white to disappear, I could click here and drag over from this side, and then if I keep going, the red will wind up disappearing, and then there we go, all the way to black. So the same on the underlying layer. If I go from left to the right, it's going to start disappearing now from the darker parts of my underlying layer. So you can see, you can use them in combination. If I wanted to change, to say don't be white and don't be visible where the underlying layer is black, I could do both of those with these sliders, which is very cool. So this is starting to disappear from the underlying layers where they're darker. Now I'm making it disappear where the underlying layers are lighter. So you could see, if you didn't want to mask out your subject, you could simply just drag that there, and it would only start to show up where where the dark areas of the photo are. Now, it's still going to be visible here on her face, so that may not work for you, but these are options. Okay, so everyone cool up until that point?
Actually did have one other that got a lot of traction online. Heather Carden and 8 other people wanted to know, why do you create a separate layer for the gradient effect rather than using the gradient overlay effect on the layer style menu?
Oh, earlier,
yes.
When I was on the Surfer Girl.
Yeah.
Oh, good question. Personally, I like the control a little bit more. I like using layer effects, but they do actually wind up restricting you just a little bit because they stack in interesting ways, and I find that being able to use regular layers, it just allows me a little bit more freedom. So that's, you can definitely use the gradient overlay however you'd like, but I find that I'm a little bit more restricted here. Instead of using like the free transform tool and all the other tools that I enjoy using on a layer, I'm stuck with this dialog, and I tend to find that it works, but it's a little bit more cumbersome than just using the tools that I like.
Simple enough.
Yeah, but if that works for you, if the gradient overlay works and you're happy with it, yeah, continue using it. Don't feel like you have to change everything you do just because you watched me hang out and put lines on a girl's face on Creative Live. Like, if you got something that works for you, keep going with it.
Love it.
Okay.
Speaking of keeping going, let's do it.
Let's do it. So we have our lights and our darks, and the last thing that we want to show you is these points. They seem like they're definite points, but they're actually two different points that come together by default. So to separate them out, hold Alt or Option, and this is going to separate those 2 points out. Well, then it'll allow you to have a much smoother transition. You can see how that's a lot smoother than what we had before. Without separating them out, you're going to get like weird, really jagged edges. We'll show you with darks, so that'll be very clear. See all these weird jagged edges? Doesn't look so good. If I hold Alt or Option, I separate them out, we get a lot smoother of an effect. There we go. So I hope that explains BlendIf to everyone, and I hope you guys start using it, because I use it all the time, and it's super helpful.